Greetings! Welcome to Kerbal Space Program. After watching the recent Artemis 2 mission, I came away thinking one thing. That looks pretty fucking easy. So my goal today is simple. Learn how to play KSP and land on the moon. And I'll try to kill as few people as possible in the process. Alright, let's do this. Now, I've never played KSP before, and I know nothing about the physics or engineering of space travel. My only prior knowledge going into this game was some old Martin Cedo Pants videos, which also kind of inspired this, and this old guy I was watching play on Twitch. And neither of these things do very much for teaching me how the game works.
I'm not playing this game anymore.
So, everything I learned throughout this playthrough will either be through trial and error or the KSP in-game manual. So I started off by familiarizing myself with the basic gameplay loop. By the way, I'm playing in career mode on normal difficulty, and I'm not going to be spamming quick saves, but I will revert and reset a launch if I fuck something up. If I didn't do that, this would literally be impossible for me. I also installed a couple mods I saw on this YouTube video to make the game look a whole lot nicer and add a tiny bit of additional content. After getting comfortable with all the menus and the information that you're flooded with at the start, I figured out the game works like this. There's two main currencies, monies and science. Science can be obtained by doing experiments, taking reports, and conducting research. Cash can be earned by completing contracts and salvaging resources. Science is used to unlock nodes in the tech tree, and cash is used to pay to build with the things that we unlock. The more we progress, the bigger and bigger rockets we can build, which will allow us to take on more and more awesome missions. So I headed over to Mission Control, picked up a couple of the starter contracts, and then headed to the vehicle assembly bay and built my very first rocket, the Artemis 1. Extremely creative name, I know. And now, we launch. Okay, not bad. We didn't die. Somehow. The pill thing on the side of the rocket here is mysterious goo, one of the KSP pieces of science equipment. I learned that it reacts differently under different circumstances and rewards us with science when we observe it. This first launch rewards us with a hefty 12 science points, which allows us to unlock our first two tech tree nodes. Now, getting to the moon, or as it's called in KSP, the mun, isn't going to be possible with the equipment we have now. And before we can even think about going to the moon, first we need to be able to get into orbit. So, I upgraded the Artemis 1 to the Artemis 2 and banged out a couple more contracts. With the rewards from those contracts, I upgraded the Artemis 2 to the Artemis 3, and hopefully we can reach orbit with this craft. Now, in order to reach orbit, two things are required. We need to go very high, and we need to go very fast. High enough that I'm in the vacuum of space, so no air can push on my rocket, causing drag and slowing me down, and fast enough parallel to the Earth, or as it's called in KSP, Kerbal, that the gravity can't pull me closer towards the planet's surface as I fly around the planet. Now, if you're a KSP veteran, I want to apologize for my inability to read literally the first words on the page here, and for how long it takes me to fully understand just getting into a stable orbit. Literally the most basic aspect of space travel that's literally used for every single mission. Anyway, with the Artemis 3, we've got 3 solid fuel boosters to get us high into the vacuum of space, a liquid fuel stage to accelerate us to orbital velocity, and the most skilled pilot in our staff, Jebediah Kerman, also known as the Prime Kerbal, or sometimes
Kerbal Eternal,
as referenced in the totally real and not made up lore for this game. Now, with the rocket assembled and everything ready to go, it is time to reach orbit. And we've done it. We've made it to orbit. One step closer to our final goal of the moon. Now, to return home, we have to orient our rocket in what's called the retrograde position, and then burn our engine so that we fall back. Oh, fuck. We don't have any fuel. In my haste to get to orbit, I used up all my fuel, which means Jebediah is trapped in space forever. Obviously, we're not going to leave Jeb stuck up there. He's our best pilot, and we're going to need him if we ever even want the chance to make it to the moon. So I got to work constructing a rescue vessel with slightly more fuel reserves than the Artemis 3, so we can line ourselves up with Jeb in orbit and nudge him back into Kerbin's atmosphere since his orbit is pretty close to the planet. And then he can descend safely to the surface. Genius plan. I finished with the construction of our rescue vessel, and I present to you the Panini. Our backup pilot Valentina Kerman is loaded onto the ship, and now let's rescue our boy. With the Panini now in orbit, I referred to our handy KSP manual to try and figure out how to align the ship with Jeb's orbit. I deduced that since the orbit's so much wider than mine, as long as I line up at least one point of our orbits, eventually we'll get close enough to each other that I can fly up next to him and push him into the planet, obviously, right? So I make tiny little incremental adjustments until finally our orbits are super, super close, at least as far as I can see on the map. And now I just wait and wait and wait until finally I can see Jeb floating a few kilometers away, and I just gotta make it to him. No, 12 kilometers, dude. Fuck. They're so close. Okay, well, looks like we're gonna need a different plan. I was pretty much completely out of fuel here, so I deorbited the Panini and returned to base to figure out how the fuck we're gonna save Jeb. After poring over the KSP manual for solutions, I came across this, the maneuver tool. This is pretty much the most important tool in the game. The maneuver tool allows us to plot our courses ahead of time, shows us exactly what our orbits are gonna look like, when we need to burn our engines, how long we need to burn them for, and the direction we need to burn them in. Without this, pretty much the only way to save Jeb would be to do actual math. Ugh, hell nah. So, to unlock the maneuver tool, I need to upgrade the KSC tracking station, which means I need money. I also want to unlock more stuff in the tech tree so I can build a better rocket, which means, of course, we need science. So, I construct the Fucktard 67, which is basically just the Panini with some extra science shit thrown on it, to first get some more science. Don't ask about the name, I don't fucking know, man. Anyway, I get some goose science in orbit, splash back down, get some more goose science in a higher orbit, splash back down, take some pressure readings high in space, and splash back down. I realized after doing this, I probably could have done all of this in one mission, but I just, didn't think of it. Anyway, we're making good progress though. We've got 50 science in our account now, but since I've been being so financially irresponsible by just spamming launch after launch, I'm left with a measly 10 bands in the bank, which is nothing when we're talking about building rockets. So I grab a contract to take some pressure readings on the surface of Kerbal to make a quick buck. And the location where we need to take these readings is right next to the KSC. But I quickly realized that using a rocket to get there isn't exactly the best way to do this. So I decided to dabble in some aeronautical engineering. Initially, I thought I could just slap some wheels on a cockpit and drive my ass over there, but you can't. It's not a fucking pedal bike. Turns out you need something to actually propel the vehicle forward. So, after figuring out how to set up jet engines with a fuselage and an air intake, I made this little buggy and gave it a quick test. Okay, you know what? It works, but maybe 2 engines is a little too much. Okay, let's get this contract done. Okay, dude. I definitely could have tried again and just slowed down a bit, but I was actually having a lot of fun just building stuff. So I tried to see if I could build a plane that could actually get off the ground. All right, here we go. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, bigger wings means more stability. Okay, never mind. No! Oh, shit! Now let's try and land this bitch. Fuck. Okay, whatever, dude. Let's just get this contract done. Okay, done, finally. With the contract done, I got my money and attempted a few more times to fly the plane. Turns out getting a plane into the air is one thing, but landing it... that's a lot harder. Frustrated at how shit of a pilot I was, I attempted a few more times to fly the plane and land, which I was never able to do, but I was able to crash slowly enough to survive. So I grabbed another contract to take some readings on the other side of the planet, upgraded the fuel reserves on my plane, the Forsen 69, and took off for my destination. I managed to take all the temperature readings and quote-unquote land fully intact in the ocean. Boom. With this success, I just need one final contract to feel financially stable enough and knowledgeable enough to save our poor boy Jeb, who's been trapped in orbit for 146 days now. Yikes. So, I accept this final contract to ferry 6 billionaires into space, then orbit around Kerbal, and return home. And at this point, I'm feeling pretty comfortable with getting into orbit and then back, so I figure this contract should be a breeze. To complete the mission, I've constructed the Poo Origin Super, a vessel with 3 two-person crew cabins that should be able to get the job done. With a large liquid stage and 4 BACC boosters attached, it's time to launch. well, fuck. To solve this little issue of everyone dying, I threw a bunch of bullshit on the outside of the crew cabins to act as a makeshift heat shield on re-entry, so surely this works. Okay, let's try this again. Ooh, okay, thank God, bro. This contract netted me a fat stack of 180 grand, which I used to upgrade the tracking station, finally giving us access to the maneuver editor needed to save Jeb. Let's do it. The panini I attempted to save Jeb with before is no longer good enough. I need something bigger, something better. So, I construct the most advanced craft the KSC has ever seen. Our backup pilot Valentina is loaded on board, and now we bring Jebediah home. Once I reached orbit, I opened up the map and was met with a lot of new information that I had to parse through to figure out how this maneuver editor works. It takes me a while, but after some trial and error and repeated rereadings of the KSP manual, I finally understand this thing. When adjusting in orbit, there are 6 directions you can move in. Well, really there's 3, but each one has a quote forward and backward, which makes 6. Pro and retrograde, move the opposite end of your orbit closer or further to the object you're orbiting. Normal and anti-normal, adjust the inclination of your orbit, which is the angle of your current orbit. And then finally, radial and anti-radial allow you to sort of roll your orbit from your current position. So to intercept Jeb, we basically just need to play around with these 6 directions until these 2 little points line up. These denote the closest points in the orbit where Jeb and I will be. So when they're right on top of each other, that means when I reach that point in the orbit, Jeb will also be at that same point. So let's do this. Finally, we've done it. After months, we've finally made it back to Jeb. Now I just need to close my distance to him and push him into the planet. It was a delicate process getting close to him, but once I finally did, I didn't have enough fuel to reliably push him back into the atmosphere. So I just fucking killed him. It's all good though, don't worry. You see, Jebediah, Valentina, Bob, and Bill are the 4 original Kerbals, sometimes called the Prime Kerbals, with Jebediah being the first of the 4. Remember before I mentioned he's also known as the Prime Kerbal? This is all canon lore, by the way, I swear. Anyway, normally when a Kerbal dies, they just die. But the Prime Kerbals, well, their souls are actually the planet of Kerbin itself. So, when their bodies are destroyed, they are simply reborn from the planet. But they do suffer some amnesia, so they lose any experience they gained when their body was destroyed. So, we just need to return to the surface, and Jeb should be waiting for us. Okay, let's recover Valentina, and finally, Jeb is back. Oh, fuck. I guess I was wrong. Jeb is actually dead. Fuck! No, dude, what am I gonna do? Jeb was our only hope at reaching the moon, man. There's no way we could get there without him. Oh, never mind. Turns out I just had to wait a few days for him to return. Huh. Okay, thank God. With our star pilot Jeb finally back home, we can set our sights for the moon. And obviously, now I know what I'm doing, so this should be easy, right? I make some minor tweaks to the Shartimus 3, basically just giving it more fuel reserves to be able to make the journey, and I begin a launch bound for the moon. The plan here is simple. We're not landing yet. I just want to do a flyby to ensure that I can make it there, and then I'll revert the flight and we'll set up a landing craft. Oh, there it is. Finally, after all this time. There is one problem though. This craft doesn't have enough fuel to be able to send down a lander and then return to Kerbin. So yeah, we're still kind of fucked. Looks like we're gonna need a real plan. Again. First, I start by upgrading the Shartimus 3 to the Shartimus 4 by basically just adding even more fuel to the thing, which literally does nothing to help me, and I know my naming convention makes no sense. So next, I decide to unlock the Basic Science Tech Tree node. This will give me access to the Material Analyzer Junior, which means I can do more experiments to unlock better ship parts that will hopefully be strong enough to get me to the moon and then back. In order to unlock it though, I need a tiny bit more science, so I accept a contract that will reward me with 9 science points. And it just requires me to get some readings on the ground near the KSC, so I drive my little plane over there, take those readings and collect my rewards. I do this whole thing one more time with another easy contract, and I can finally unlock the material analyzer. I attach the science part to a new craft named the Borgulus 1 research vessel, and I launch into Kerbin's orbit to test it out. Upon conducting my analysis in space, I'm rewarded with 37 fucking science. That's like 5 times more than I've been getting for these other missions. But it doesn't really matter because I end up destroying the analyzer in the atmosphere on re-entry and losing all the science. Fuck. So I added some science storage units and a heat shield, and then was actually able to collect the science this time. Well done. Motivated though by how much science I was able to get from that single launch, I decided that since the description of the material analyzer read that the radiation in space caused a few of the samples to glow, I should try on this next launch to expose the samples to even more radiation. And the best way to do that is by escaping Kerbin's magnetic field and flying around the sun. Now, I know what you're thinking. Alex, you can't even get to the moon, you fucking idiot. How do you expect to fly around the sun? Okay, first off, never speak to me that way again. And second, it's actually not that hard, at least in theory. And that's because we're already flying around the sun. It's just that Kerbin's gravity is obviously keeping me in orbit, so the game registers me as orbiting Kerbin and not the sun. So I just need to get far enough away from Kerbin that my ship is on its own orbit around the sun, then conduct my experiments, then super quickly turn around and burn my engines to get back into Kerbin's orbit. Easy peasy. With my trajectory set for the sun's orbit, it's going to take a couple weeks to get out of Kerbin's influence, so I activate Time Warp to take me there first. Ooh, fuck. I was not paying attention when I did this, and I accidentally jumped 6 months into the future. Jeb and Bill have been stranded orbiting the sun for 6 months. Damn it. Well, they don't really seem too upset about it. Anyway, I conduct my research and oh god damn it, I accidentally activated this experiment earlier in space and didn't realize I couldn't reset it. Fuck! Oh hey, would you look at that? We've only been up here a month. Much more reasonable for these guys. Anyway, I finally conduct all my experiments and reports and earn a whopping 90 science, which is fucking awesome. Now I just need to return to Kerbin and, shit, I don't think I can make it back from here. I try to set up a maneuver and realize that I can actually just save all my fuel and naturally fall back into Kerbin's gravity completely risk-free if I just wait around for 33 years.
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
And just like that, we're back in Kerbin's gravity. And there we go, 33 years and 112 science for our efforts. Well done, Bob. With all this science, I'm able to unlock new rocket boosters and the landing struts required to build an actual moon lander. With these new toys, I build the real Shartimus 4, and now I should finally be able to successfully fly by the moon. 3, 2, 1, launch. While in orbit around the moon, I'm able to conduct a lot more research, which upon returning to Kerbin, nets us a fat 132 science. And it didn't take us 40 years to get, which is nice. With this science, I'm able to unlock the equipment for a landing craft, as well as the Mark II command pod, which can hold 2 Kerbals instead of just the one, which means I can take Bob Kerman on future missions more easily, and since he's a scientist, conducting experiments with him will net us more science. Now at this point, I can definitely go to the moon and come back. I have all the right tech unlocked, and I've banged my head against a wall long enough to the point where I understand orbits and maneuvers enough to at least complete the mission. But I'm addicted as fuck to this game now, and I want to keep progressing. Using our new unlocks, I jump from the Shartimus 4 to the Shartimus 5, the most advanced craft the KSP has ever seen, and I launch from Kerbin. I set my sights not for the moon, but for Minmus, Kerbin's second, much smaller and much further out moon. My thinking here is that if I could successfully fly by and then return, landing on the moon is going to be easy. With the Minmus flyby a success, I earn 170 science, which I then use to unlock better fuel systems and construct the Shartimus 6, the vessel that will finally take us to the moon. There's just one problem though. It is really expensive. And I'm a financially responsible guy now, and I'm not trying to spend 20% of all my money on a mission that's realistically not gonna make us any. So I quickly give the Shartimus 6 a new paint job and replace the moon lander with a couple crew cabins, and I present to you the Pooh Origin Reborn. Since I flew around the sun, I unlocked some big contracts to ferry tourists around the sun, and these motherfuckers are paying big. This will also give me a good opportunity to test the ship out. So I load in 3 tourists and launch. The mission goes smoothly enough, the craft had plenty of fuel, and I returned everybody home safely in just under a year's time. And I definitely had enough money now at 1.3 mil, but there's another tourism contract to basically do the same thing I just did for almost another $1 million. So you know what? I gotta do it, man. This mission goes smoothly as well, and now we're rich as fuck. With some of the funds, I make some upgrades to the KSC, and now the time has finally come to go to the moon. After successfully intercepting the Mun, I circularized my orbit and began my descent for the lunar surface. A bit of a rough landing, but we've done it. We've made it to the moon. And now our hero Jebediah can be the first Kerbin in history to set foot on another celestial body. Cannot disembark while off Kerbin's surface. Astronaut complex upgrade required. I forgot to bring spacesuits. Motherfucker! Finally, we make it back to the lunar surface, and this time, I didn't forget the spacesuits. Jebediah hops down from the command pod. Oh shit, fuck. Let's get up real quick. And becomes the first Kerbal to step foot on the Mun. I plant our flag and inscribe the date of our accomplishment. Now it's time to do some science and return home. Jeb makes his way back to the command pod. Eventually, and Bill conducts our science, which nets us a ton of points. And now we just gotta fly back. So let's boot up the engines. Oh, I just fat fingered my spacebar, and now we're trapped. God damn it.